But how can you let her marry someone like that? I don't hate her. Not really. I can keep it.
Try not to stab your sister with it.
Sansa and Arya Stark are two characters that you don't hear compared all that often. Mainly due to the fact that on the surface, both characters seem to be polar opposites. Sansa is extremely ladylike and proper. She's tall, beautiful, well-spoken, well-mannered, and everything a princess should look and act like. She enjoys sewing and reading and dreaming of knights in shining armor. While Arya, on the other hand, couldn't be any more different. Arya is short, unconventional looking, aggressive, wild, and everything that maybe a young boy would be expected to be, but not a young princess. She enjoys things such as swordplay, physical training, and imagining herself a great and mighty warrior. And throughout Book 1, Arya and Sansa find themselves at odds with one another, frequently smack-talking one another in their thoughts and to each other's faces. We even get an interesting scene where the two of them have a mild food fight. But here's the thing. While these characters may talk a bit of smack about one another, and at face value seem like very different individuals altogether, deep down they have this beautiful respect for one another that unfortunately goes unspoken. There are countless times throughout books 2 through 5 where the sisters are separated and think about what the other one would do in order to stay alive. And this isn't something solely unique to Arya and Sansa. George R. R. Martin loves to do this with siblings all the time. He specifically loves to do it with Jaime and Tyrion as well, but that's a video for another day. While Arya is a captive at Harrenhal, she thinks fondly of her sister and her sister's courtesies. And this unknowing role model in Arya's life ends up keeping her alive when she's forced to interact with men who will take any slight as a sign of disrespect and harm her. While Sansa, throughout her entire journey in books 2 and 3, often thinks and wishes she had the same level of courage that her sister Arya does. Which brings us to the first true similarity and parallel that these two characters have. That being their courage. Sansa and Arya are both very brave and courageous characters. And while the way they demonstrate this courage is very different, the circumstances that lead to it and the courage itself is undeniable. Arya's courage is very easy to talk about and quite palpable. She is this little girl alone in a lion's den, whether that be Harrenhal, the Riverlands, or Essos. She has no friends, no one to rely on but herself, and every single day is a struggle for survival. Every action she takes, every breath she draws, must be calculated and measured. And the way in which she slowly but surely gains courage and evolves as a character is by honing her craft as a swordsman and fighting, spending every free second she gets practicing the art of combat. This even gets her to the point where Arya, this once small and seemingly harmless girl, is becoming a true threat in her own right. And by the end of A Clash of Kings, she's gaining confidence, shown through her not being afraid to murder people that get in her way. And this journey of gaining strength is only multiplied when she meets the Hound, a man that matches Arya's character and therefore will be able to help and give her really good insight into what she needs to do to survive. And Arya's journey with the Hound is a bloody one, where he fights with her, fights against her, trains her, and ultimately he plays a pivotal role in progressing Arya's story and making her stronger through showing her who he is and what his life is like. And this training with her, specifically, is pivotal in regard to her future with the Faceless Men, where she will become even stronger and more dangerous. The once feeble and childish Arya Stark quickly emerges into a true danger in her own right. And now is also a good time to note that Arya Stark changes her name constantly throughout her journey and will continue to do so. And this changing of the names marks a pivotal moment for her character. Now, let's go over Sansa's journey. Sansa's journey of courage is slightly more complicated than Arya's, due to the nature of becoming a player in the Game of Thrones. But it is still equally courageous and impressive. Sansa, being locked in King's Landing for the majority of her story, means she is literally locked in the lion's den. She has no friends, no one to rely on but herself, and every single day is a struggle for survival. Every action she takes, every breath she draws, must be calculated and measured. And the way in which she slowly but surely gains courage and evolves as a character is, one, just by enduring through all of the humiliation and abuse that she receives, and two, is honing her craft as a player in the Game of Thrones. Sansa strengthens herself in King's Landing by always keeping her eyes open, watching and taking in everything, to the point where, slowly but surely, she's able to pick apart people's plans without even knowing of it, and gaining the powerful ability to just flat out be able to see through people. Sansa's journey of becoming stronger and more courageous is also amplified when Littlefinger enters the story. Much like the Hound for Arya, Littlefinger amplifies Sansa by matching the traits that she has already been developing, with Littlefinger often pushing Sansa intellectually and letting her in on his own schemes. And once Sansa dons the name of Elaine Stone, she really comes into her own as a player in the Game of Thrones. The once scared and feeble little girl who dreamed of knights in shining armor has blossomed into her own, and all of a sudden feels more like a beautiful white rose than ever before, thorns and all. It's also important to mention here, like I did earlier, that Sansa's change of her name, like Arya's, marks a profound change for her character. And that's where A Dance with Dragons leaves our two sisters, on different continents with names that aren't truly theirs. And at this point, I think I've made it fairly obvious that these two sisters have far more in common than people give them credit for. But I want to take this a step further and explain where I think their respective arcs will bring them in the Winds of Winter, and how that too will be similar. To put it simply, both Arya and Sansa are at a crossroads of identity. They are both being trained by people who are requiring them to change their name and fit a mold that they have set for them. And both Sansa and Arya are playing their parts perfectly. But that's just it. They are playing the part that they have been assigned. They aren't actually buying into the ideas. And because of this, I believe that in the Winds of Winter, Arya Stark will end up rejecting the Faceless Men, overpowering her leader in some regard, possibly through fooling them and heading for Westeros. And for Sansa, I view a similar arc. I believe Sansa will play the role of Littlefinger's daughter to the point of convincing Littlefinger himself that she is buying into his plans, just to pull the rug out from under him to reclaim who she is. And in doing so, Sansa will become a powerful player in the Game of Thrones in her own right, no strings attached. And when these two characters eventually do reunite, I imagine that their reunion will not be one where they throw blood oranges at one another, but where they come together and love and respect one another, differences and all. Because while on the surface, while they may believe that they are two very different people, deep down, they are far more similar than either one of them ever thought.